Navigating family relationships requires understanding and acceptance. Sometimes differing perspectives on personal identity can create challenges within a family. In today's episode, I speak with my guest about how she met her wife and the impact on her family dynamics and those challenges they faced and may still continue to face. Open communication and empathy are crucial for bridging these differences, building stronger bonds, and requires a willingness to listen and learn from one another. Ultimately, fostering a supportive environment benefits everyone in the family. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of Family Dynamic Conversations Podcast. Family Dynamic Conversations, where families and stories come in all shapes and sizes. I come from a family of 12. You may be an only child. What matters is caring, sharing, and finding ways to relate to one another. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Janice Kingsbury, and today my guest is a coworker who I have found to be very respectful, empathetic, and humorous on a daily basis. These skills I find you have either been brought up with as a child or have had the unfortunate experience of not being heard, not being seen, and not understood. So therefore, sometimes you learn these skills to take care of other people and then fulfill the needs we all have. Welcome, Ruth Smitherman. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to talk to you today.
I'm glad that we got to make this happen. So.
Right?
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming, listeners, so we finally make it work.
Yay.
Okay, so first, if we could get some background, how many are in your family? What number are you, and where did you grow up?
Yeah. So I'm a family of 4. I'm the eldest daughter and also eldest granddaughter. I grew up in Roy, Washington, born in Boise, but most of my life was in Roy. It's a tiny town just outside of Tacoma, Washington, if you know it.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I think I lost a question in there, but
no, I think you hit them all. Family of 4. Your second daughter?
First daughter.
First daughter.
First daughter, okay. First grandkid.
Okay, and near Tacoma, Washington. Very cool. Mm-hmm. So you had the nice change of seasons, and then when did you move down to Southern California?
I moved my freshman year of college, so I was 19, and actually I met Grace 2 months into college.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys have been together for several years then.
Yeah, have been together for 10 years this next November.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool.
It's really exciting.
So would you say that in your family dynamic, you had very outgoing people, introverted people, religious people, or what were the dynamics in the family?
Yeah, so my dad is very introverted, of like not super social and all of that stuff, loves to be home. He's really into welding. And so he does welding and he plays video games and drinks whiskey. And then my mom is much more outgoing, so she's very social. So I definitely kind of take on both sides of that, of like my dad kind of like represses a lot of his like emotions and stuff like that. My mom is like very out with them and all of that. And so I feel like I've taken on almost a balance of that in a lot of ways. I'm outgoing like my mom, but I also enjoy my like quiet time like my dad, and and they're actually still together too. So
wonderful.
They've been together for 32 years. Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. Yeah. Good for them. Yeah, I think it's great when the child can kind of see the value of each perspective there and take on what's comfortable for you in either one of those spectrums, let's say. So that's cool. So your mom got you on stage. You said you were a performer.
I was always doing something. There's like old videos of me just like anytime they would turn the camera on in another room, I would know and I would run to the room like just as a little 2-year-old. But I was like, whatever attention I can get. I I started taking dance lessons at like, I would say like 3, 4.
Oh
And
my
I did
goodness.
that most of growing up. And then I just started collecting more and more like hobbies and arts that I wanted to do. So like when I got to middle school, that's when I kind of went from all of the dance into more like theater and
Mhm.
improv. I started playing the cello and all of
Wow.
that stuff. So
Very
uh,
cool. So
yeah.
I have to ask you, since I have a granddaughter now, that's 3, and
Mhm.
sh it seems like it's kind of already gone away a little bit, but when maybe last year even, she would come out singing the Frozen songs, and she'd twirl, and she'd have the expression on her face, and when she sang the songs. And now it seems like she doesn't do much of that. I mean, it's only been not even 6 months, and it feels like she's kind of gone away from that. Well, like I'll put on a song from Frozen or from Moana. She loves Moana, and it's just kind of like in the background now, and she doesn't interact with it at all. I'm like so sad. So when did you start taking lessons, and were you really excited to?
You know, my first memories of doing it were probably being in like recitals and stuff like that and being in like dance recitals.
Yeah.
And so I had so much fun like getting ready. I think my favorite moments are like backstage at recitals and
Yeah.
getting ready for the performance and stuff like
Uh,
that,
yeah.
putting on all the makeup and
Oh,
everybody's buzzing around and throwing on costumes and off.
yeah.
And I feel like the chaos and fun of it all. I remember being like 5 and just like looking up to the big kids who are
Oh,
doing the big
yeah.
stuff and
Being
like
in
being like,
awe.
oh yeah, that's what I want to be doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I remember that my um, brothers and sisters were very artistic. And I remember my sisters were definitely creating this huge tree. And my brother was an artist. So he would be drawing the pictures or creating a forest in the background. So I think that was my first introduction to it. So I just thought that was fabulous how fantastic these things looked, especially from back in the distance. You'd be sitting in the audience and go, oh my God, my brother drew that. So cool. My sister
It's
made that tree. I love it. So I was very much taken in with that and always loved movies and theater and just thought these people are amazing. So I tried it, but I did well on stage, but I have this traumatic experience of forgetting this entire song.
oh no.
One of the shows. I'm like, oh my God. So, and that's all I heard about from my family forever. I just thought, really? All the shows I did, the one song you're gonna give me a hard time for.
I feel like that's the thing though. It's like let me make mistakes.
It's really okay. They gave me Best
Let's not
Actress
hang
award,
on to
so
the there you go. See,
I
I
faked
think
my
you'd
way
be a
through it.
phenomenal actress.
I did have fun, but I think
Yeah.
I worked backstage. Did I ever tell you I worked at the Civic Light Opera of the South Bay Cities?
No.
I was backstage in wardrobe.
Okay,
Had
amazing.
a blast. And there was one time where I think it was Will Rogers Follies, where we went on stage and just held up something for the girls to change on stage. I don't know what the hell that all was all about, but they're like, okay, we have to go on stage. Okay, be ready. We didn't have to say a
It's just
word.
like such a like amazing energy,
It
right? It's
is.
just
It
like
is.
electric.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you met Grace in college.
Hmm.
And how did you guys meet, first of all?
Well, so I was auditioning for the improv troupe, and so was
Oh,
she.
nice.
And I saw her leaving. And I knew I'd seen her around. We went to a small Lutheran college, California
Okay.
Lutheran, and I'd seen her around campus. And I saw her leaving, and she was playing a melodica, which
Oh,
is like a small piano that you blow into.
right.
And I was like, that person certainly is
It's
got to be really
cool.
cool. Yeah. And so then I actually like she calls it stalking. I think that that's a little bit aggressive. Just kind of, it's a small campus, so I would notice when I would run into her during the day, and I would notice that, like, okay, it like aligns with certain times. And I would just kind of place myself nearby where she would be walking during the day. So I would lay down like a quilt in like the quad or whatever
Nice.
and like be doing my homework. And I'd be like, if she approaches me after she sees me, then obviously she's interested. And so finally, one night after placing myself outside of one of her classes, she came and sat next to me on a bench and we talked for like 3 hours. And
Oh,
we've been a little bit inseparable ever since.
not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's
we
got to
just
feel
were,
good.
yeah, we just talked for forever. And we have similar home lives too,
Okay.
which is interesting. So
Yeah.
like she is the second child, and also like we both had siblings that kind of needed a little bit more attention.
Okay.
Like my brother is neurodivergent and ADHD diagnosed and a little bit of
Mm.
autism.
Oh.
And then, which is why I'm kind of like, it runs in family, right? But and Grace's sister also like just needed a little bit more attention growing up, and so we both kind of had to figure ourselves out in a
Yeah.
lot of ways in our home lives growing up. And so when we met,
Right.
it was almost like this person just gets me,
That's
like this person
awesome.
just knows what's going on in my brain, you
Yeah.
know?
That's so rare and satisfying. I'm sure your world was just like so totally opened up. Thank
I
God.
mean, it was opened up in so many ways, right? Coming
Yeah.
from Roy, which is a fairly small town, and going to Southern California and just meeting a whole bunch of different people and
Yeah.
and everything like that. I grew up Lutheran, and so going to a Lutheran university, I was like, okay, this is something that's like familiar,
Mm.
but it's out of my comfort zone because I
Yeah.
there's Pacific Lutheran University, which I grew up next
Mm.
to.
Okay.
My mom taught kindergarten right next to there. I went trick-or-treating on the campus, like
Yeah.
growing up and stuff like
Okay.
that. And you know what? I know that if I stay in the same pattern,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to like not reach what I felt I could, you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like learn what I needed to learn about myself. And
Right.
I'm so glad that I took that leap, you
Yes.
know.
Well, I felt that same way moving from Minnesota to California. I turned 21. I waited till I turned 21 thinking, okay, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to be an adult. And I have to get away from this huge family that I know love me, but still feel so either competitive or jealous of, or never will reach their standards, or whatever the reasons. And just thought, okay, I have to shake that off and just see what I'm made of, what I can do, what I want to do, and not worry about any judgment back there in Minnesota. It's
Yeah,
just how I had to say goodbye and see what I was made of too. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
it
That's
was
cool.
huge. Yeah, my mom called me, I think like 3 or 4 months in, and was like, I have to like find a new support system. Like, you're not here with
Oh,
me
right,
to like
right.
be this
Yeah.
person.
Mhm.
And, you know,
That's tough.
it was tough. It was tough to like hear that and realize that like that I
Right.
was such a huge part of.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we've talked about a lot, like through our now about 10 years that we've been 1,000 miles apart, right? And
Gosh,
that
right.
relationship is still really important to me, and really, I think everyone has this really complex relationship. I think a lot of
Right.
women have really complex relationships with their mom,
Yep.
and it's like she's my best friend. I love her so much, but it's also continually becoming deeper, but also like more complex as I
Yeah.
like start to be more and more adult. And
Right.
yeah,
Well, having a very independent and strong daughter, I know as a mom that we have felt inseparable too, because when We moved to Philly. She came with us. When we moved back, we followed her, trying to get back down to where she lived. And now we're within a couple miles of each other and have always been supportive each way. And yeah, it gets, the more children she has, the more complex her life becomes. And I am just a wondrous audience to her, and hopefully supportive. And I know she knows that I support her, but it's fascinating just to see this new other human evolve. And I'm sure your mom misses you terribly. I don't know what I would do with Samantha being 1,000 miles
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
But proud, still proud, you know.
For sure. No,
Yeah.
she is. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you feel like you could openly talk about your relationships? Did you feel supportive, or did you feel like it's really challenging to let anybody know how we feel about each other? Or how did that all go for you?
Yeah. I mean, so when I first started dating, I was like really embarrassed. And I guess the thing to explain here is that Grace, when I met her, was presenting as a man,
Okay.
and transitioned um, about a month or so into our marriage. So this was like about 2 years, 2.5 years or so ago. But I knew she was like, as we kind of like grew up together, we
Mm-hmm.
both kind of started to realize like we're both kind of queer
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of different ways, but we didn't really know what that meant because like
Yeah,
we loved each other and
sure.
we didn't really want to be in non-monogamous relationship.
Yeah,
And
got it.
so we knew that we wanted to be with each other
Yeah.
and this was like endgame, but we also knew there was something that wasn't quite fitting in our identities. And so like Grace came out, I think, kind of like colloquially, like just in our like friend circles, I think in 2019-ish,
Okay.
as using like they, them, non-binary, and
Okay.
then came out to my family and her family about 2 months after we got married. And
Wow.
so when we got married, our whole families were like, oh, they were really nervous that I was going to be a lesbian. So this
Oh,
was like a great relief.
really?
And then I tricked them. Um, and
This is how this is gonna
I
go.
lulled them into no. But that's
Interesting.
I think what's hard for them is they feel like either they got tricked or I got
Oh,
tricked or
oh,
and that's not like the reality of the situation.
right. Right.
Um and I think it was really hard to like I think the hardest part for me, so then Grace came out in the November of this last year to me, so November of 2024.
Okay.
She called me up on the phone and while I was up in Washington and was like, hey, like everything just snapped into place for me. This makes so
Mhm.
much sense. I'm a woman. I've been a woman. Like
Yeah.
this, and
Yeah.
for me, like we've already been very open about all of that, and so it wasn't super surprising or anything, but it
Right.
was like just this like relief of like
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
makes so much sense. Like
So
everything made
good.
sense, and
Yeah.
it's so happy for her. But
Yeah.
talking to our families about it was hard. Everybody is coming from this place of love, which is good.
That's great.
You know,
Yeah.
everyone is really wants our happiness,
Great.
but at the same time, there's this hard part of like for my whole life I've been completely understood in every way
Yeah.
by my family.
Right.
And all of a sudden now there's this part of me that they don't get,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's tough.
so yeah, sorry.
Yeah. It's
Um,
okay. It's okay.
but
It's difficult,
uh,
I'm sure.
so like when I first told my mom, I mean, she had a really strong reaction, and we
Yeah.
we really had a hard time getting back on the same page.
Okay.
And she was coming from this place of she wanted me to make sure I was happy. She was
Yeah.
like, "Have you thought this all the way through? Have you
Mhm.
thought about how much this changes your whole life? have you thought about? And it's like, of course,
Yeah.
I've thought about
For a
it,
long
you
time.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's hard, and she
For
feels
sure.
like I might be putting on, um, and I don't want to put feelings or words
Right.
in
No, I
her,
understand.
but like, um, I wonder if she perceives my like own queerness
Hmm.
as like something to continue this relationship or to make
Ah,
myself happy or to be happy and stuff like that. And
right. Right.
so it puts me at odds. I tell her
Yeah.
like that's hard because that kind of takes away some of my autonomy in
Right.
this,
Right. Yeah.
because I do
Yeah.
have that.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's been really interesting.
Ever
I
evolving, I'm sure.
ever evolving, but
Yeah.
I think we're on the right track. Like I
Yeah.
feel like we're
Yeah.
in a good space, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, there's so much love there. Like my dad doesn't get it at all and is
Mm,
really confused and overwhelmed by it, but then he
okay.
made Grace like a bracelet, like welded her
Oh,
bracelet. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
there, like the love is there,
That's right.
doesn't know really what to say or how to express it in the right way. Um,
Yeah.
and same
Yeah.
with my mom. It's like the love is there. They're still figuring out how to navigate that and to like feel like I'm thinking through things in
Hmm.
the right way and stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to not feel like you're being questioned about decisions you're making. I don't like that either. If I make a decision to do something, I don't feel like anyone should try to figure out why I made that decision, or I should have some kind of explanation for that decision. It's like, well, that's my decision. So obviously I've thought it through, but I do know in a large family when I would make certain choices, at times felt like I really had to find a way to help them understand. But at the same time, as I grew older, it was like, well, either you get it or you don't. And that's not a problem for me. I'm okay if you don't understand. Uh,
Right.
it's just that is how the power I gave myself is just to say, well, it's okay if you don't understand. I'm happy with my life going in this direction. And um, hopefully you'll get it or just accept it or whatever it is. And we don't have to sit there and go run into that road every time. It's just like, that's how things are. So I know you love me. So let's just keep continuing on as a loving family. But there are times when you can't control all these other mindsets and beliefs and how they were brought up and what their processing is to understand anybody else's life.
For sure. Like I played a role growing up a lot in my family where I was keeping people happy and calm.
Right.
My mom and brother would kind of go at it and get
Mm,
dysregulated and stuff, and I would be this force of, well, Jake's kind of causing a lot of problems, so I'm going to be the one who's not causing problems. And so this,
right.
I think, this coming out, Grace and I coming out together in a lot of ways, is been the first time I've caused disruption in my family
Ah,
unit,
yeah.
and been the reason that people are uncomfortable. It's kind of crazy, but I also have I have so much empathy for them because of the way that they were raised,
Right.
and I know that they have their own stuff with their family
Mhm.
that they process,
Right.
and they have to think through when they're thinking of this, having a trans daughter-in-law, right?
Mhm.
This is not what I pictured for my daughter, number one.
Right.
Number two, I had to thinking about what their parents would think or what
Mm.
their family unit, and thinking about all the things that they did that they didn't like or the ways that they repressed themselves
Yeah.
too as well, even if it's not in like a gender way or in a
Sure.
sexuality way. I think when people are confronted with people who are queer in their lives and they're
Mhm.
uncomfortable with it, I
Mhm.
think it reminds them of everything that they've ever repressed, and I
Yes.
mean, like everything that they've
Yes.
ever denied themselves so that they
Right.
could conform to society or their family or
Yeah.
anything like that,
Yeah.
they are confronted with that.
True. I can see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great that you have empathy for that because I'm sure it's hard for me to understand though when people do feel uncomfortable that they somehow think they have to condemn what the other person is feeling for that some way if they feel like they accept it right away then somehow that diminishes their strength or something I because I've been in that room where like I said I worked in wardrobe in the musical theater and there was nothing but love around everywhere for everybody and there were gay and straight and bi and everything else. So no one ever came into the room going, well, you have to be this way and you have to be that way and you identify this way. So that's how I'm going to treat you. So it's really hard for me when I see that kind of condemnation or frustration because like you said it's probably why what gives you the right to be so free about how you feel and I thought oh you poor human I mean what have you gone through that you feel like you have to be upset about another person's choices rather than just that's great are you happy cool let's go out and have some fun on stage kind of thing so thank you for being so empathetic about it. I hope it doesn't cause too much internal turmoil for you, though. I want you to be
I,
happy too.
yeah. No, I mean, I think I try to hold both. You can have empathy and hold boundaries
Yeah,
that are like, hey, you don't get to say that, or you don't get to share that with me. You know
right.
what I mean? Or,
Hmm.
I mean, boundaries shouldn't really be what people are doing, but like, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
let you talk to me about how my wife's gender makes you feel. If you need to process that with somebody else, that's great. But
yes.
I'm not the person that you're gonna process that with.
No.
When she came out the first time, it was like I was getting a call from everyone and their mother
Oh,
about
really?
like about everyone's mother, about what this meant and what does it mean and
Oh
why
my
is this
goodness.
happening and what do you think about it and all of this stuff. And I'm trying to process on my own
Yeah.
and also live my life. I'm just on the treadmill at the gym. Please stop calling. And I finally
Oh
had
my
to
goodness.
say, hey, you can talk to Grace like
Yeah.
about it and she can share what she's comfortable with.
Right.
Like I can't be this person for you. The internet's there. Um
Yeah. You can figure it out.
no, and I get it. It's like they
Yeah.
want they I'm like I am an empathetic person and I am somebody who can kind of talk it out with them and
That's
hear
great.
them because they just really want to be heard. But that doesn't mean I have to do that.
No, no, I think there's no strict rules about any of that. And your fortitude and your ability to let them know what you're not comfortable with is huge. I mean, that's a big, mature, conscientious thing to do. And I think that only helps them because they have to figure out to trust their own understanding of things. And it's okay to feel however you feel, but the idea of coming to you and laying it on you is that's tough. I'm sure they're just like help me understand, but at the same time there are ways to find out information if you have certain particular questions that doesn't need to be right at someone else, especially when you're just kind of opening the doors to let everybody know what's happening. Grace's family, did they support her? Or did she feel
We're there now. We're
okay,
there
good.
now. Yeah,
Good.
I think it took people time to process.
Right.
And I think there's her sister came around really fast and was really excited and has cut people out of her life that are not supporting trans people and
Okay.
it's just really sweet.
Yeah.
And it was a tough holiday, I think, for all of us.
Mm.
It was
Yeah.
like both sides of our families just didn't really know how to interact, and we weren't communicating the best. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I think now it's exciting because we're um, on the up, and it's almost a relief too in a lot of ways because there's
Yeah.
nothing like crazier. I can't disappoint them any further. Like,
I wish I I'm sorry you feel like it's a disappointment, but as long as
I
you and
know.
Grace are loving life and loving each other, I mean, that's really, I think, end of story.
I think it's right at this age where you are, I think I'm almost 30.
Okay.
So I'm at this point in my life where I'm really
So young.
defining, I know. um, I'm really defining what it means to be my own person and my own family unit. And this kind of journey is, in a lot of ways, very similar to what other people are going through too, is
Mhm.
how do you redefine yourself outside of the family unit
Yeah.
and as your own individual person. And now I'm redefining myself as a couple in
Mhm.
our first few years of marriage and understanding what that means for us. So, I mean, it's very similar to anyone else in a lot of those ways. It's just kind of a little bit more in your face of, yeah, it brought
Right.
everything to the surface in a way that it was just all at once.
Right.
But I always say, I think this is everything I was meant to learn in this life. I
That's
think
great.
if I didn't meet Grace, I don't know if I would have taken the steps to come out on my
Mhm.
own.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would have been brave enough to even pursue theater for the bit that I pursued it or
Right.
pursue art and all of those things. And so in a lot of those ways we really push each other to be our best selves. And through this I've learned so much about myself
That's
and I
great.
feel so much more confident in myself. And I just feel this settling into my skin. Like I'm no longer feeling torn between people all the
Mhm.
time and feeling,
Mhm.
oh, I want to be this person for this person.
Wow.
And I know myself more, you know,
That's so
and
great.
I feel
At not even
grounded.
30, that's really, really good. I'm
I'm
hitting
working hard.
65
It
now.
didn't,
What the
it
hell?
didn't come without work.
I know. Well, I don't know which is worse, come with work or with the many, many years of going, "Wait, what? What am I supposed
Yeah.
to say here?"
I'm sure I'm gonna say the same thing in 10 years. I'm gonna be like, God, I was so all over the place and now I'm feeling really grounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's a good
I
thing.
think,
I
yeah.
applaud it. I'm glad you're feeling that, seeing that, understanding that now because it's a tougher road after that anyway. So starting young, knowing young is best, and you're doing great. And I've only known you what, a couple of years, not even.
Mhm.
And I have always seen you as a competent, confident, kind person that you hold things into check really well. And I I'm so um inspired by you and recognize just how this even keel that you have shown at work anyway. I don't know outside of work, but at
Outside work,
work,
it's all gone. No.
Grace pops her head in. Yeah, let me tell
Yeah.
you. No,
I come home and I just cry a lot. No.
no. Well, like you said, the compartmentalizing that
Mhm.
stuff it shows me how well you're doing. So, thank you for being that way, at least at work, because I much appreciate your empathy and kindness and positivity and professionalism because, I've been in a lot of different stores and a lot of different managers and not all of them have that, and I appreciate you. Let me
Yeah.
put it that way. Ah,
I love being a leader and I'm so lucky to have a store filled with humans like you that are just so ready, open, ready to tackle things and also just a great human to come chat with. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the idea too of just being able to laugh with each other is such a huge relief, especially
Hmm.
in pressure times, when it's not busy and it's not much to do. There's still the time that you can sit there and laugh and joke about things, and that's huge. That's a relief. It's a release. And I think people come to see that with you and, well, most of the managers, thank goodness. I think we have a great group of people there. It's wonderful.
I it's the like I'm sorry to any teams that might watch this that I've worked on in the past, but it's kind of one of the top teams I've worked on. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Very cool.
It's just really it's really great to work with that team. And you reminded me of I my college essay was about laughing, not to
Ah,
cry. And I
oh,
wrote, I wrote it about so most of my high school years were spent in the old folks home because
oh,
my grandma had Alzheimer's. She was diagnosed when I
oh,
was like 10. And
wow.
so she'd been there, I think from the time I was like 13 until
Oh my goodness.
I think she passed when I was 16. And then my
Mm,
grandpa stayed on up until 2020. Um, she had done a lot of different things that made us laugh, but I think the most iconic story was she had, and it's really sad before it's funny, and you
okay.
can cut this.
Okay.
Um, but it's basically
Definitely
she
won't.
had been diagnosed for a while, and
Yeah.
they found like a small cancer in her breast.
Mm, okay.
So they did a mastectomy on the one breast, and so my mom was like, well, let's not reconstruct it because I don't think that makes a lot of sense just
Right.
for her pain and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we in Nordstrom you can get basically a fill to
Mm-hmm.
like even it out and
Right.
in her bra. And so
Yep.
she had like a fake boob.
Right.
And so one day I'm 14 and boobs are still really scary and gross, right?
Yeah.
Um, or maybe I like them, but definitely not my grandma's. And um, and
Well,
so I'm with I'm with her in the and she is kind of like feeling herself,
yeah.
and I'm like, she's like,
What's
Ruth.
happened?
I'm like, "Oh, yeah?" She's like, feel the difference between my boobs. And I was like, because she didn't realize that one of them's fake. She's just like, why does one,
Oh.
and so she grabs my arm with her frail little hand and
Oh.
is like pulling me. And I'm like, no, no. My mom's
Trauma.
cackling from the corner. She's like, I had to do it, Ruth, you do it. And so my grandma would go down the hallway in the home and honk it at people. Honk honk. And, um, and so
I
I
love
wrote that
it.
story into my college essay, but
That's
the
awesome.
last part of it was that my great
Oh.
aunt Bev, her sister-in-law, was like to my mom was like, I miss my sister, I miss Geraldine.
Yeah.
She would only go by Jerry, so
Oh.
but I miss Jerry so much, I just want a piece of her. So my mom sent her the prosthetic boob.
And there you are.
There I am. I want it so bad. When Auntie Bev is still with us, if she still has it, I want it.
Well, you immediately take me to my mother, who at, God, what was she, 79,
Mhm.
80, and same thing, breast cancer, mastectomy. And I didn't live in Minnesota anymore when this happened, of course. And I came back for a visit, and she was just trying to figure out, is rice better? Is beans better? What really what really feels? Is it sand? She's filling these little bags to put in the other side of her bra. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, well, does that look real? Does that look real? Oh my God.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. No, she was cracking up the whole
Just
time
like
too. Is this
Like, which one
ridiculous
will
or
do
what?
it?
Yeah. She goes, but it's kind of a mind game,
Yeah.
You have to think about that stuff. Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, there's nothing like a good sense of humor in at those times.
Those are my favorite. I like people who have been through it and know how to use humor. I mean,
Yes.
those are my favorite people
Yeah.
because, yeah, yeah.
We have to laugh instead of cry. You're right. It was a good paper, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it's just, I mean, it's just the human condition. Like, what
Yeah.
are you gonna do, right?
That's right. You have to make a choice.
Yeah, it's like
Cry or
I
not.
could feel angry and
Yeah.
pissed off, or I could just make a joke out of
Yeah.
it. And I think my therapist would like me to be angry, but
I'm gonna go in this other
I
direction.
refuse.
Well done.
Sorry,
Okay.
Rachel.
All right. So we talked about a couple of creative outlets that you have. So we're going to go in that direction a little bit.
Okay.
So the most recent thing I heard you talk about was candles, though. Are you still
Yeah.
doing candles? And what
I,
started that?
I'm doing them a little bit. I slowed down because
Okay.
I had too many candles. And my kitchen floor, I'm still taking a knife and getting the wax off of my kitchen floor.
Let's see.
Luckily, I rent. But yeah, I was getting ready for the holidays and I was like, I need to make presents. I don't have a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I want to do something that's like special but sustainable, but like homemade, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That people would actually use. And so I was thrifting different jars and stuff and creating my own candles just with, I just Googled procandlesupply.com, just a little plug. Maybe you'll get paid for
There you
that.
go.
Um, but they it's great. It's
Yeah.
and I now have like 10 pounds of candle wax and
It's not paraffin,
it was only
right?
$50 for 10 pounds for
Wow.
soy wax.
Soy wax. Nice. Okay.
Nice soy
Cool.
wax, eco wicks.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's not the cheap stuff.
Oh, cool.
And I refilled the thrifted jars. So, I mean, if you want, I can go
Yeah,
grab a
I'd
couple.
love to see it.
Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, here are some of my favorites right
Oh,
now.
cool.
I got
Oh,
this one
that's
that's like a
beautiful.
mid-century modern, and I put like
Yeah,
the blue wax in there.
love
And
it.
I think this is like it's like a coconutty one.
Mm.
The flavors are hard to like set because they cure over time, but I also don't have enough patience to measure. So, so that's kind of my issue is like you're
Got it.
supposed to put like a certain amount and it's
Okay.
like 1/10 of however much wax.
Oh,
But when
then there's
I'm
math.
looking at, I don't have the patience to like, I got a C3PO
Oh,
one, which I like that one.
I love that. Is
It's
that
got
three
like a
candles or just one big wick?
I did two wicks.
Oh,
I
yeah,
probably should have
there
done
it is.
three, but
That's awesome. But then it's
yeah,
gonna look like
it,
eyes.
yeah. That's what I kind of lined them up to
You did.
hopefully you got my vision.
Well done.
Um, and then this is my favorite. It's like a little spruce trees
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
green and it's spruce flavored. So I'm
So great.
saving that one for the holidays, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
all stuff glassware you found in thrift stores.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Just like, $3 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you're the 10 pounds of wax, it's like not, it's much less than what you would get it, or probably the same price as what you would get it at Home Goods for.
And
And
the
I'm making it at home.
and the C3PO, that was just in a thrift store?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
It was
funny.
just by our work. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
And, yeah, well,
You have a good
it's
eye.
fun to like, look at something and be like, oh, that, well, it just made me really think too, I mean, with everything going on in the world about being mindful about where we're shopping,
Yeah.
being mindful about we're voting with our dollar right now, and you can cut this if this is too much.
All
No,
good. So,
yeah, But like we're voting with our dollar, and that means that like I'm going through these thrift stores and I'm looking at this stuff that's like the reality of thrift stores is that goes to the dump,
Yep.
and beyond the dump, it goes to the shores of different
Everywhere.
countries across the world. And when we buy something, it doesn't just go into the trash and we forget about it, right?
Yeah.
And so when I'm in the thrift store, I'm looking around, I'm like, I mean, this was at Target 3 weeks ago, and now it's
Right.
here. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also, my mom just recently sold her parents' house, which had
Oh.
um, about 100 years of
Oh my
her
gosh.
family's stuff in it, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so she's been going through all of that stuff for years. I mean, since her parents left that house 15 years ago
Oh my
when they moved
gosh.
out, she's been going through everything. And there's so much like milk glass and just like really amazing pieces
Yeah.
of people's history that she can't keep it all, and she can't give it to all to antique stores because
Yeah.
and antique stores are flooded with stuff anyway. Could talk on that for a long time. So, but just was overwhelmed with the fact that like things are just so disposable when they don't need to be. And
Yes.
so being able to do this, even though it's like not making an insane impact or anything
Right.
like that,
Right.
it brings me a lot of joy. It is fun, and it is like also just saving something from, you know,
The
a dump.
trash. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, once you get all that 10 pounds used up, then this is where you go to Etsy and talk to Jake about that.
I know,
Putting
right?
things out there. Yeah. Get some
That's
money for it.
what I have. Like, I've been shopping around at local places, and I'm like, I wonder if they would sell it there. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see what that journey leads to,
Right.
but
Right.
I don't want to take the fun out of it. But
Yeah. Right.
I
Becomes
also
factory work.
can't not keep all these candles physically in my house.
Yeah.
It
Ways to
will
go.
light on fire at a certain point, but it will burn really slow
And
because of all the
smell really
wax.
good.
And it'll smell really good.
And you're doing writing also? You have any projects going on right now?
Yeah, so I kind of take a pause on it, but
Yeah, me too.
I was writing a Hallmark movie for a while, just
Wow.
for fun because I
Yeah.
joined a writing group, and I
Cool.
actually, as an eighth grader, wrote a novel, submitted it to NaNoWriMo. It was
Wow.
a whole romance novel. Um, and
So cool.
I yeah, it was like a fantasy
Congrats.
romance was, very big in my teen years.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was very inspired by Twilight and
Okay.
wrote my own like superhero romance
Nice.
novel. And after I
Awesome.
wrote it, I had gotten some feedback that was not positive,
Okay.
as any writer does.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that led me to not write for a really long time.
Sounds familiar.
And
Yep.
right,
Yeah.
and so then this last summer, I started reading again after a really long time. When I went to school for theater,
Yeah.
and so when I was reading there, it was always like, a play a day. You should be
Mm.
reading like this, and this, and
Wow.
I felt really bad if my time was spent reading something that wasn't like
Oh,
what I
okay.
should be reading, right? And so I
Yes.
stopped reading for a long time, and this summer I got back into reading by reading like romance and
Okay.
novels.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that inspired me to start writing again. And I joined this
Wonderful.
writing group, and everybody was really serious. It's kind of like there was not everyone, but there was a lot of like film bros kind of in it,
Oh,
and I
okay.
really wanted to impress them, and it was impeding my ability to write because
Yeah.
I'm just like
Pressure.
thinking about that audience,
Oh,
and
yeah.
not like actually writing. So I was like, let me write for not that audience at all. Like, let me write a Hallmark movie that's silly and
I love
stupid.
it.
So it was a pregnancy pact between three girls. It's Cankles for Christmas, and they they one Christmas Eve
Oh.
make a pregnancy pact that by the next Christmas they'll have kinkles for Christmas. And um
I
so,
love it. Oh my
yeah.
God. We'll put
Yeah.
that out to Steven Spielberg, see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my God, that's great. Well, good for you. It's
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it? I had started a memoir years and years ago. I still haven't finished this fictional novel that I wrote. I'm like 78,000 words into it. I just can't
Wow.
think of an ending to it. Um,
Right.
and so I just got stuck, but it was one of those where I got the balls to finally go to an editor and say, "Here's just a few sheets. If I'm gonna hire you, can you kind of give me an idea of what you think," kind of thing. And she said, "Oh, this is gonna take way too much work. There's so many grammar mistakes, and right off the bat, I can see how long this is gonna take me. So here's what you'd probably have to charge you." And I'm like,
Ugh.
"Wow, okay, well, what time is it? I guess I gotta go feed the meter. I'll see you later." It was just like, ugh. And
Yeah.
right off the bat, I was just like, I'm worthless. I can't do this. And then I got into a writing group and talked to their personalities and their um, confidence levels. And some of them were way up there, and some of them were, well, I can do this, not a problem. And others were like me, just going, I'm just giving it a shot. I like doing this. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it, but whatever. It made me feel good to get something out. And at one time it just flowed so freely. And I was really thrilled about it. But then you hit a brick wall and then life happens and all these other things kind of take your time. So when I talked to this fellow writer that we got together, God, well, I did a podcast with her, but she said, try this podcast thing. And so if she had not said that, I probably wouldn't have even thought it myself. But it just did start me taking the time to think about something, write about it, and then, put it out there. Whether it's accepted or not, I don't know. I don't know if there's an audience. It doesn't matter. I put my head to something, I wrote it down, and now it's out there. And it's a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment that otherwise is hard to find. So
That's
bravo for
amazing.
you for finishing one. Bravo to you for going into a group and going, okay, let's start this again and just have
Yeah,
some
let's
fun with
start all over. Yeah.
it.
And
Yeah,
let's just have fun.
right.
Yeah. Well,
It's
that's
good.
going to theater school, it was very much about like, and I would say like theater school is a big word for what I did. But I went to school for theater. I don't know. I don't want to diss it. I don't want to diss it. But
Right, right.
I think that I had to like operate on a level that made it like not fun, especially post graduation. Like in
Oh,
school,
yeah.
I got to be like fun and experimental, and I was put down in the same like normal, like in the theater sense you would. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like all of the stories are true. About going to theater school, you like wake up at 8 a.m. and somebody tells you you're not funny. And like, like that's,
Brutal.
yeah. Yeah. I
Ouch.
remember I stayed up all night doing this project of like creating a Greek mask. We were doing mask
Oh,
work
yeah.
for talking about Greek plays,
Okay.
and you were supposed to create this whole character around this mask. And
Nice.
I thought about it for a long time, and I braided the hair on the mask, and I did like
Oh,
I really thought about it, and I went in and I did this character, and I think it was something really stupid. I mean, it truly like looking back on it, I mean, they were kind of right. It wasn't good, but I put so much work into it.
yeah.
The mask looked really nice, but the character was just like, I, I think I went like, I'm gonna get you, or like something stupid like that. And my professor was like, no, that wasn't good.
Let's try that again, Ruth.
Yeah, it's like,
Aw,
I'm gonna go
that's
back to
tough.
being a biology major, I think.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't that bad, but it it can
It
be crushing sometimes.
it was me trying to get a laugh. I think that was the issue. Was
Okay.
like I've made up the character, but I'm also trying to get a laugh. And not
Mm.
only did I not get a laugh, but the character was bad. So, some days you bomb, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. You gotta learn
Yeah.
what's good, what isn't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So we're going to end with this. You said you
Okay.
have a vacation coming up. Where are you going? What are you doing?
So my mom has never been to Europe. She's
Oh,
only ever been to Canada and Mexico, and then we had planned this whole trip right before the pandemic to
okay.
go to we were gonna go Northern Europe all the way to Russia and back, and obviously a lot of things have happened
Hmm.
since then that made that cruise not possible. So we had
Oh,
done a cruise down to the Caribbean and Puerto Plata and stuff like that. But this is kind of her redo. So we are going to go on a cruise, a 10-day cruise, and I'll start in London and end in Oslo, Norway,
oh my
um,
gosh. How
which I'm
beautiful.
really excited
I
about. So
bet. I
this is
bet.
kind of her prize for selling her parents' house too, because
Oh,
it was really hard.
I can't imagine.
To go through all that. And I mean, it's like hoarding levels of stuff that was
Oh
on that
gosh.
property. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not true hoarding, but like it was
A lot.
a lot of
Mm.
stuff. And when my grandma was kind of losing her memory, she had um, put letters from her grandparents from like Scotland to the US in
Wow.
between pages of magazines.
Oh,
So like my mom had to like because she just didn't know what she was doing.
yeah.
So my mom had to go through
Wow. All
everything.
the
Yeah.
magazines. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
everything. And so, to complete that and now have that relief, but also
Yes.
sadness and grief and, all the unprocessed feelings she felt about her parents passing, because there
All
was a
right.
lot that was not processed there,
Mm.
especially because her dad passed during the pandemic. And we didn't get to do like a funeral or anything like that, right? And
Right.
so she's finally getting to mourn. And she's had a
Mm.
tough 5 years. I mean,
Oh my
just a lot of grief, a lot of all this stuff.
yeah.
So for her to do this, and traveling's her favorite, she loves to travel.
Yeah.
And in a couple weeks, she's getting her knee replaced too. So
Oh.
she's been in a bunch of pain in her knees. So she's going to feel really good on this trip, knock on wood,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
everything. So I'm
Oh,
really
bless her.
stoked to just get that time with her and to go explore because we travel very well together. We both
Oh,
love
that's nice.
museums and we
Mm.
love to the only difference is I'm a much more adventurous eater.
Oh.
So that's why we have to cruise. It's just like chicken fingers and and French fries
Yeah.
is her
Oh, you're gonna
go-to.
have some
So
amazing
yeah,
cuisine on that ship.
I'm
What ship are you
excited.
going on?
We're going with Norwegian. So
Okay.
we did a cruise with them in the past, and I believe it'll be the Norwegian Dawn, if
Okay.
I'm remembering correctly. We
Sounds
looked at a
good.
lot of cruises,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we had like our heart set on one, and then we kind of switched to this one. And I'm really excited about it. Like it took a long time to get her to just like commit
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like what my next step will be in my career and stuff. I might
Right.
be looking towards getting my own store in the next year or
Yeah.
so. And I'm like, this is the last time I'm going to be able to really take this kind of
Yeah.
time.
Gotta figure
And
all that stuff out. That's right.
yeah, right.
Well, we have something else in common then because when I first moved out to California, I worked for a travel agency. They got into cruises, and back in the day, I don't even know how many 30 years ago, um, you the travel agencies could earn places on ships or airfare or whatever it is. And so one of the first things my boss gave me, and I was just a receptionist there, I wasn't actual a travel agent at all. He was a cruise for with a guest. And so I took my mom to the Caribbean
Aw,
on Norwegian Cruise Lines.
no way.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
right? So I saw that as something you were going to do, and I'm like, oh my God. And so it immediately took me back, and we had so much fun. So I was maybe in my mid-20s, and I
There you
had
go.
her
See?
all to myself, because from a huge family and all the
Right,
family
right.
get-togethers, you have maybe a breakfast in the morning just by yourself with your mom. Here it was going to be a full week of flying together, getting on the ship, this whole new experience neither one of us had gone on before. And so it was just like
That's so
heaven.
special.
Yeah, it really was
That's
fantastic. So I'm very excited for you and your mom because it's going to be so fun.
We're gonna have a blast. I mean, we have to tone it down a little. I coined it Ruth and Wendy Take Miami, in reference to the Kardashians. But we
Oh, I love it.
because I kept calling it my. It was right before Grace and I got married, and so I kept calling it my bachelorette party. And so there are like last night in Miami, and I treated it as such. And honestly, she was egging me on, but we got on the boat pretty hungover the next day. I don't remember getting home to the hotel the last night in
Just glad
Miami
you did.
because just glad I did. Yeah, no,
I love
she
it.
and I get into trouble sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, which is fun. You know what?
It's
Why
good.
why
It's
the
good
hell not?
trouble.
Once in a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to thank you so much for chatting with me and talking to me. This is heartfelt stuff. This is challenging times, and it takes a lot of courage and strength for everyone, you and Grace and the families, to recognize that all you need is love. It's going to get you through everything once you get right down to the bottom of it. It's all about love. And as you said, your mom was grieving this passing of her parents, and yeah, she had a lot of stuff to go through, but that grief meant there was so much love lost, and not lost, but continuing on in such a way that I'm sure they were around her at every moment she was going through that stuff. But if you don't have grief, you don't have love. So it was very courageous of her to have to go through all that stuff, because I know when my mom passed at almost 100, my sister Marcia decided to buy the house and stay there. And like you said, 100 years of stuff in there, and she's still possibly going through all of these things. But it's a family dynamic that just means there's a strong bond between people, and there's a wonderful feeling of gratitude when you can think about that and put it in that kind of perspective. And every one of us has challenges, but when someone's got your back and people that love you surrounding you, it'll get you through everything. So if anyone out there can feel like you can relate to these stories and relate to this understanding of the struggle that you may be going through or had in the past, and now everything is wonderful, please let us know. Let us know in the comments if there's anything that you would like to talk about, or you need someone just to reach out to, because it's all about relating to each other and getting the stories out there that are important and that can help maybe get someone through that struggle. So thank you for joining us again today, Ruth. Thank you again. It's my pleasure to be chatting with you today, and getting to know how much more we have in common is
Yeah,
wonderful.
for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to me ramble on and on. I've always got stories, so
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. And I'm sure we'll have more topics to talk about in the
I
future.
know for sure. I'm like, next time I see him, I'm like, wait, like, tell
Yeah.
me more about that cruise.
That's right. Well, yeah, after you get back, I want to hear all about it.
Oh, for sure.
Well, say hi to Grace for me and tell her thank you for letting you spend some time away and out in the house, and she's in the other room.
Yeah. We'll bring the umbilical cord closer.
That's right.
I'll tug on it and she'll come in. Yeah.